Over the past month, I've swatched out 10 of my favorite Daniel Smith watercolors, and last week made some color studies, picking just two of the colors, plus buff titanium and quinacridone burnt orange to make some really beautiful pastel and earthy colors. This week, I'm going to pull it all together and create a layered abstract watercolor floral. I'm going to use my color studies from last week to help me decide what proportions of color to use and which colors to use. I'm still limiting myself to Mayan Blue Genuine, Rhodonite Genuine, Buff Titanium, and Quinacridone Burnt Orange. So let's see what happens. Hit like and subscribe to see what's coming up next Tuesday. Also check out the previous videos if you haven't seen them yet. Comment below with any of your favorite watercolors I should try out next. Last week's video was the color studies. This is the final color study with all 4 colors. This was our warm palette color study with Rhodonite Genuine. And this was the cooler study with Mayan Blue Genuine. So these color studies are going to inform the painting that I'm doing today. I'm going to use these colors as inspiration. I like the green on top of the peach and on top of the pink. So I'm going to have that up above my page while I'm painting, just to remind me the colors that I like. And so I am going to do a floral today. And you can do this too. It's another intuitive way to create. I have no plan in mind. That's why I'm just starting with pencil marks, just to get the page started. I have 3 different brush sizes, so I can move back and forth between the sizes that I want. So to start out, I'm just going to add a bunch of color color on the page. Pretty light, so a lot of water, a little bit of color. And this just gives an interesting background to get the painting started. Just fill up your page as much as you want, because this is just a background. It's going to be covered up or layered on top of with some more watercolors. It's just a way to get your painting started. It helps you get loose and play a bit without thinking too much about what it's going to look like at the end. So I'm beginning to place some pink where I think I want some florals to be. And it's very abstract and loose. Does not have to be perfect. Again, we're just playing. So this is on a sheet of watercolor paper that I cut out down to size. You can use a 7x10 watercolor block to make your painting, or you can do this in your sketchbook if you feel more loose and free in your sketchbook, because the paper is not as expensive and it's just a way to keep all of your work together. If you prefer to do that, then absolutely do that. Any way you can loosen up your mind to be creative is what you should do. And then as you get more confident, you can move on to different paper and different materials. But to start out, if you're feeling nervous, use a sketchbook to get started. I'm still making it a very watery layer to get started, and you can see it. You can tell that it's going to be florals, but they are very abstract and loose. Adding in these blue sections is just giving me an idea of where I want some leaves to be. And as I'm doing this, I'm not thinking too much. The main thing I'm thinking about is spreading the color around the page. So getting it in different areas, just so it helps move your eye around the page, because you have the different pinks around the page, and then now we have the different blues spread out around the page. Now that the first layer is dry a bit, we can start working on our next layer. I'm going to start adding some darker spots to get some value contrast going. Value is the difference between how light and how dark an area is. And when you add contrast to your painting, it makes it more interesting. So you can see right now, everything is pretty much the same value. But once I start adding some darker areas, it already makes it more interesting. Your eye has somewhere to go. So I'm just using this color to start placing some leaves. And again, I'm not thinking too much about this. I am just letting the intuition kind of guide me. And what I do, like what I'm thinking, is just, all right, well, I placed some dark in this area. Where else can I put it that's going to draw the eye around the page? So I have a bunch down below. Let me add some up near the top. And it just takes practice to know where to put things, and that's okay. I have painted for probably thousands of hours at this point, and so it does come fairly naturally, but I do still struggle at times knowing where I want to put things and what's going to look good. And I am making this pretty abstract, so any little mark that suggests a leaf works on this piece. Now that that layer is more dry, we can start adding some more details and more deeper colors to get some more contrast going. And remember, this is just an intuitive floral. This is not meant to be a finished painting. This is meant to be fun, and obviously it can be a finished painting, but that's not the end goal. This is when I like to start adding smaller marks, and sometimes with my brush like I'm doing here, but I will start using some of the neo colors and pastels soon. Adding different marks like this just adds interest to your page. One tip I have is to add them in a few different places to kind of balance your piece. This is where your color studies come in handy. If you remember, I liked the peach on top of the green, and so I added it in on top of that leaf there because I knew I would like those two together. And for a subtle look, this is when you add it to your lighter spots, and that gives even more interest when someone is looking at your painting up close. Just play around with this and have fun and see what you like to do. So you can tell I did some little loops and petal shapes and those dashes again because I just know that that's what I like. And you can also add in extra leaf shapes, like drawing them in with these crayons. It gives it a different level of interest when you have different marks and different colors around your page. And I could have just done dashes again with this color, but I decided to draw some leaf shapes instead. You can keep working on your painting as long as you want. There's really no one to tell you when it's done. And I've heard once that a painting is never done. It's just gotten to a point where you are happy with it. So you have to get to that point where you're like, yeah, I like this. I think I'm good with it right now. So here's another thing from the color study. I liked that dark olive green on top of the oranges and the pinks. So I'm adding some of that in too. And again, because it's pretty dark, I want it in a few places around the page just to balance it out. And you can keep adding layers of color to make it darker and darker. You can make it as dark as you want. You can keep spots as light as you want. You can add in more leaves, more flowers. It's really just up to you, however you want it to look, because it is your creation and there's no right or wrong. So I like little marks like this because they just indicate other flower types. They're not specific flower types, but it gives you the idea of it. You'd be amazed at how just the suggestion of a flower with a small mark can make you see a flower. It's very interesting how our brain works to make something out of nothing. I'm just filling in some spots with some darker leaves. It was looking a little pale in some of those places. And we're getting close to the end here. It's looking pretty good. Some more little hints of flowers. You can add in some little marks with our Sennelier pastels again. It looks like more flowers when you just suggest a hint of them. Make some leaf shapes. That one's pretty dark. I don't know that I'm super happy with that part, but that's okay. It's all for fun. I think I'll make some marks with my Pigma Micron pen and my Posca pen just to finish it up. So this is a white Posca pen. I'll just make some dots with it. The smallest details can add more interest than you think to a piece. It gives it that final touch that makes your piece stand out from the other ones. And the more you practice, the more you'll notice these things. So just keep painting. See, just that little bit of dots added a lot of interest to this little floral. Let me add a couple marks with my micron pen to finish up these flowers. I'd love to hear in the comments if you try this out, and absolutely email me if you have made something. I would love to see it. Thanks for joining me today. I'm all about helping you grow your own creative practice full of peace, intention, and curious exploration. Find out more when you visit jenfletcherart.com. I'll see you soon.